Hey guys, good morning. It is John C. Morley here, sir, entrepreneur. Great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. We've been changing up the times. We've been noticing. If you guys have been following us, we've been doing more shows in the morning, but you guys can watch them whenever you want. Great to have you here. Do check out believemeachieve.com for more of my great inspiring creations. And I just want to welcome you because we have a brand new master topic, which we'll get to here in just a second. And that topic, ladies and gentlemen, is breaking past limitations and stepping into confidence. We're on series 4, and we are on show number 6. I don't want to rush that to it, right? We're on the series 4, and show 6. I'll get you. And by the way, this is episode number 1. I'll get you what the granular topic is in just a moment. So, are you ready to transform the way you challenge, unlock your true potential? Life isn't about avoiding obstacles, it's about learning how to use them as stepping stones for growth. In today's episode, I'm going to break down 10, yes, powerful strategies that will help you shift your mindset, build resilience, and turn adversity into opportunities for success. Whether you're facing personal struggles, or let's say professional setbacks, or you just feel stuck, these insights that I'm going to provide are going to guide you toward a stronger, more confident you that you didn't even know existed. I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I'm a podcast host and podcast coach. And I'm here to help you take control of your journey in life. So get ready, everyone. Fasten those seatbelts because we're going to get going. I'm going to help you elevate your mindset and embrace a future filled with possibility. Let's dive in. All right. Of course, if you want to go grab yourself a beverage, feel free to do that and come back, or a healthy snack. Don't want you guys going hungry or being, let's say, unable to breathe because you haven't had a drink. Don't want you parched. So, number one is shifting your perspective on challenges. All right. So, the way you see a challenge determines how you respond to it. If you view obstacles as roadblocks, they'll stop you in your tracks, hands down. But if you see them as stepping stones, they become opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. The key is to reframe your mindset rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what can I learn from this? The moment you start to see difficulties as lessons instead of setbacks, you begin unlocking your true potential. But so many people like, oh my gosh, woe is me. Why did this happen to me? Why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. Don't do all that. Don't burn yourself out. Okay. The lesson is happening for a reason. Learn from the lesson and move on. That is probably the most important thing that I can tell you. And a lot of people just feel that, they feel that they, shouldn't be taught a lesson. And I think lessons are great because they prevent us from insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again, which Einstein said. If we do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, that is insanity. All right. Point number 2, recognizing growth in difficult situations. This is tough for a lot of people. Difficult moments aren't just struggles, they are signs that growth is happening. So think about muscles in your body. It only gets stronger through more resistance. So the same applies to your mind and your emotions. Every challenge you face teaches you something new, whether it's patience, problem solving, or resilience. Instead of avoiding hardship, embrace it as a tool that is shaping you even now into a stronger, more capable version of yourself. Now, many people don't like the discomfort. And I've said this before, you have to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Let me say that again. You've got to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And I know that's something that can be a little bit hard, but it's important to understand, what that is and why it is a certain way. I think sometimes people just, for whatever reason, they just do what they want to do because they do, but they don't realize, let's say, the benefit of learning. So, learning is something that a lot of people need to understand. All right. Learning is something that many people shy away from because they don't realize the potential of their life. They just don't realize that potential. And so why we think about this is because when we push forward, all right, and we talk about the fact that, we always want to get things right. I want to get things right. But, when I get something wrong and I learn from it, I'm able to realize that there is a strong potential in what I'm learning. And by learning that, then I say to myself, well, you know what? I won't do that again. And I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but the more you do it, the more you will embrace it. Okay, that's the most important thing. Practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Let me say that again. Practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. What does that really mean? Uh, so let's take riding a bike for a moment, right? So many of you learned how to ride a bike, and you probably still know how to ride a bike, right? You don't forget how to ride a bike. Well, when you first learned how to ride a bike, take myself for example, I remember I was outside our driveway, and I had got on the bike, and it had training wheels on it. And so the training wheels were great because I could just pedal, pedal. And it was so easy. And if I stopped, the bike wouldn't fall over. And so I had the training wheels on for I don't know, maybe we would usually do this on weekends, which is when my parents had time. And so we would usually do it like Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon. And so for I think it was one weekend or maybe 2 weekends, we left the training wheels on. Then my dad's like, "Okay, you're ready. Let's take the training wheels off." And he's like, "You ready?" I said, "I think so." So we took the training wheels off, and he's like, "The same pedaling you have to do, just keep pedal, pedal." But what happened? I went 1 or 2 houses and I fell. And so the first time I fell, it was not very comfortable. It was uncomfortable actually. And I left the bike there. I don't know if I cried or not, but I know I wasn't happy. I just left the bike. I said, I don't want to ride a bike anymore. And I ran inside. It was close to lunchtime. And I said, let me just have some lunch. And I don't want to go back to my bike anymore right now. So I left the bike and my dad's, are you coming back? I said, no more today. And so the next time I did it, instead of going 2 or 3 houses, I went 6 houses, and you know what happened? I fell again. But this time when I fell, I didn't bleed. I wasn't in as much discomfort. It was still uncomfortable. I went and got let's say something to eat real quick, came right back up, got up, and just went right on. Now, then I went down a little further. I think now instead of going like 6 houses, I think I probably went down about 9 houses. So that was pretty good, right? 9 houses. And so when I went down 9 houses, now what happened is I fell, but this time when I fell, it was a little bit different. And what was different about it is that when I fell, I actually got right back up. So that's an important thing when you fall to get right back up. Now, the second time I still scraped myself. The third time I don't think I even bled the third time. And then I fell a fourth time. But after I fell that fourth time, which now we're like 3 houses, 6 houses, 9 houses, and now we're 12 houses, guess what happened after that? I didn't fall anymore. So that conditioning I got from hitting the ground and what it felt like taught me that, hey, I don't want to do the same thing over again, right? And expecting results. I've got to change what I'm doing. So I guess my body had a shift. It was my positioning, it was my balance. So my balance on my bike, I had to get more with the balance. So when I was on the bike originally, I was leaning forward like a lot of people do when they start riding their bike. They lean forward so much. And what happens with that is your weight is dispositioned. So I'm like, all right, now what do I do? And so I'm riding the bike, I'm riding the bike, I'm riding the bike, and I'm just so happy that I'm riding the bike. I actually rode it not only past 9 houses, I rode it all the way up because we're in a cul-de-sac. I rode it all the way to the other end of the street, which is actually up a hill, back down the hill, and then back to our house. And it was really good. And I was able to brake. It was really cool. And then the next time, not only did I do our street, I went to another street. And I remember the third time I rode the bike, I actually rode it down to grandma and grandpa's house, which actually my dad's mom and dad just literally lived less than maybe 2 or 3 miles from us. And so that was a real sense of accomplishment for me. I practiced getting comfortable being uncomfortable. But you know what? I had growth every time I made a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. I had growth. Now, back then, I didn't think it was growth until the very end, till I was learning how to ride a bike. I was like, I'm just like, this is crazy. But this is how everyone learns how to ride a bike. You've got to get comfortable. You've got to fall. You're gonna bleed, say maybe. And you've got to get used to how to balance yourself because when you're on the training wheels, you could sit off the seat, you could sit to the left, you could sit to the right, you could sit too forward, you could sit too back. There's really no let's say feedback for balance because you just keep pedaling and it goes. When the training wheels come off, you've got to whoa, I gotta pedal, and now I've got to balance my body because if you lean the wrong way, the bike's gonna fall over. Now, if you balance properly and you pedal, guess what happens? The bike stays up, which was pretty cool. Now, the next time that I learned how to ride a bike, which was several years later, which was when I got a dirt bike at our place down the shore, and that was a little bit different because even though I knew how to ride a bike, I was not used to the gears and I was not used to the fact that this had handle brakes. Okay, so my first bike was a Schwinn, and the way you brake, I think if I remember right, I think this bike. I'm trying to remember. I think the Schwinn bike I had, the Schwinn bike had. I think my first bike had, I think it was it foot brakes if I remember right. Um, yeah, so it was like it has something called a coaster brake, which means you stop the bike by pedaling. You basically you pedal backwards, essentially using your feet to activate the brake mechanism. So uh, when you pedal forward, the bike goes forward, right? When you pedal backwards, it kind of kicks the brake system. And now that seems pretty easy. But when I got my first dirt bike, okay, so dirt bikes use a different braking system. They use handle brakes. So that didn't sound like a really big deal. So a dirt bike uses handle brakes, and they refer to what they call the front brake on the left and the right brake on the back. Now, I remember the first time I rode this bike. All right. It wasn't the very first time, but it was when I wanted to try to go fast and maybe do a couple stunts, like, go over the manholes and stuff like that. And everything seemed fine. But the first time I was playing with the brakes, I didn't realize how they responded. They responded differently to my foot brakes, pedal brakes, which would be if you pedal backwards, it would start to stop. So that was one thing I had to get used to because the first time I used it, guess what happened? I fell. I also had to learn how to use the gears. I had a 5 speed. So I had to develop not only the physical ability, but the mental resilience to learn how to ride that bike. Now, one thing I should tell you that was more challenging is because down the shore, going to the beach and going sailing, I didn't wear shoes. I pedaled with no shoes. Now that's an act in itself. So in order to fit in down there, you have to basically you pedal your bike without socks and you without shoes, and you also walk on stones without shoes and socks. So that's a little bit uncomfortable, but you have to toughen up your foot and your feet just like you toughen up your mind. So life is unpredictable, right? And so learning to adapt to uncertainty, like how my bike worked, right? Life can be challenging. And the sooner we embrace the fact that the more powerful you become happens from your willingness to accept unpredictability. Instead of fearing the unknown, which is false evidence appearing real, I just saw everything later in life as an open road with endless possibilities. Now, when I was a little kid, everything was a challenge because I would constantly be, getting myself hurt sometimes. And I remember one time I was on the bike with my dad before I was of age to even ride. I remember to this day. So my very first challenge was my dad didn't really have the car seat on the back. Really, it just was kind of just thrown on there quickly. And so you know what happened? There was no place for my foot to go. So he just told me to hang them dangle, which was probably a good idea at the time we thought, but no, because after he got not even a quarter away from the house, my foot kind of swung into the spokes and guess what? These spokes actually um, crushed my ankle. Now, not to get gruesome here, but that happened. Now, I cried. I remember going back inside to the house, my mom, taking care of it and everything, and then rushing to the hospital and then being a cast for a while. So that was my first break, but not to go on everything. So I want to let you know that that was some resilience. And then I got stronger from that. And then I realized you don't do that again. Now, even though my dad said, don't put your foot in the spokes, what did I do? My foot got comfortable in the sway and it went in and it caused a problem, right? So that was a slight challenge, but got back up just like I got back up every time I rode the bike, right? So turn obstacles, ladies and gentlemen, number 5, turn obstacles into stepping stones. Learning to adapt to uncertainty is number 4, turning obstacles into stepping stones. What if every obstacle in your path was actually a hidden advantage? The truth is, setbacks often hold the greatest opportunities for growth. Instead of viewing challenges as things that hold you back, start seeing them as launch pads that propel you forward. Every struggle you face has made you stronger, smarter, and more prepared for future success. The key is learning how to extract the lesson and use it to your advantage. Throw away the discomfort and remember the lesson. Number 6, build the mental and emotional strength. Mental and emotional strength is like a muscle. You have to exercise it daily. When life gets tough, your ability to stay calm, focused, and positive will determine how well you navigate the storm. Building strength means setting boundaries, staying mindful, and practicing self care. The more that you invest in your mental and emotional well being, the more control you have over your responses to life's challenges. Now, that sounds easy, but it's not. So you've got to practice getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Seeing discomfort as a sign of progress is the key. Feeling uncomfortable is a good thing, even though it might not feel great at the moment. Growth never happens inside your comfort zone. Every time you feel stretched, challenged, or uncertain, it means you're on the edge of something new and exciting. Instead of resisting that discomfort, embrace it as a signal that you're evolving. The most successful people in the world got to where they are because they're willing to endure temporary discomfort in pursuit of long-term success. That's the truth. That is absolutely the truth. But many people expect that, oh, my father was this, my brother was this, so I should be able to just do this. Yes, you may have some genes that can help you, all right? But it doesn't mean that you don't have to learn how to be that in your own way. Number 8, stay committed during tough times. I've said this before. Tough times never last. Tough people always will. It's easy to stay motivated when things are going well. Sure it is. But true success comes from staying committed when things get tough. The difference between those who achieve their passions and goals and those who don't is persistence. When challenge arise, remind yourself why you started. Have a strong why that keeps you going even when progress feels slow. Discipline and consistency always win over motivation in the long run. Remember that. I want to say that again. Discipline and consistency always win over motivation in the long run. So, number 9, finding lessons in every experience. Now, you might say, John, I can't find a lesson everywhere. Well, start. Start trying to. Set your mind up to do it. And when you do, guess what's going to happen? Your body's like, oh, I guess I got to look for a lesson here. Let's got to look for a lesson here. Oh, I found a lesson. Every experience, good or bad, teaches you something valuable. The key is to pay attention and extract that lesson, get rid of the discomfort, keep the lesson. Mistakes aren't failures unless you refuse to learn from them. Let me say that again. Mistakes aren't failures unless you refuse to learn from them. Mistakes aren't failures unless you refuse to learn from them. Whether it's a failed business, a venture, a difficult relationship, or a personal struggle, there is always a takeaway that can help you grow. When you train yourself to look for lessons in everything, you start seeing life as a continuous journey of self-improvement. That's pretty cool. Number 10, celebrate your small wins along the way. I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again. Success isn't just about reaching that big top of the mountain or that big milestone. It's about recognizing and celebrating progress along your journey. Every small step forward deserves acknowledgement. When you take time to appreciate the little victories, you build momentum and stay motivated for the bigger goals ahead, of course. Progress isn't always linear, but every step you take is proof that you're moving in the right direction. So celebrate your journeys, no matter how small or how big they are. The steps that you take are important, and the way you reward yourself for them is really the key. All right, let's give you some quick stories about these. So, shifting your perspective on challenges, I gave you the one about the bike already. That's really a good one. Recognize growth in difficult situations. I'm studying for my master's. Sometimes studying is not easy. Sometimes the topics don't just pop off the page. I have to study them a few times, go over them a few times. That doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that I need to persevere. And guess what? I get the benefit of owning that information once I do. Number three, develop a resilient mindset. I don't care if you're climbing a mountain. I don't care if you are practicing to be a goalie or to be a soccer player. It's not easy when you start, and it's lonely when you start. So be a little easy on yourself. Don't let yourself get away with murder, but be a little easy on yourself. Reward yourself when you make a little progress. It doesn't matter how big it is, right? And I always tell you guys to take breaks. I love the Pomodoro method because of that reason. We won't get into that again on this show, but that's where you basically set aside blocks. So if you do 20 or 25 minutes, you keep doing a Pomodoro, then you wait 5 or 10 minutes, then you do another one, then you do a third one. On the fourth one, you give yourself maybe a 45-minute or 60-minute break. So I think that's really cool. When you see discomfort, don't look at it for the fact that it might be a little challenging or a little painful. See it as a sign that you are progressing forward, right? With the bike, again, with me falling, I didn't see that as a sign of progress. But guess what? My body was learning how to balance, and it quickly learned that it didn't want to be on the ground. So it figured out, hey, brain, hey, body, we gotta change how we're balancing ourselves because we don't want to be on the floor, right? All right. The story about number 8, staying committed. I know there are times when you're starting something and then maybe you get a social request, or maybe you have some other thing you want to do and it's not aligning with what you're doing. It's okay to divert from that, but remember, if you are doing something, stay committed. That is the most important thing. Even if people around say, "Oh, you know what? You can't do that," or "You're putting too much time." Don't worry about what other people think. It's your life, not anyone else's. Find the lesson in every experience. This is probably the golden gem of today's show. Find the lesson. There is a lesson everywhere. Tell your brain, hey, brain, help me find the lesson in this experience. Help me figure out what is the nugget I needed to learn so I don't do that again. And again, you have to make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you celebrate those small wins. Breaking past limitations and stepping into confidence. Confidence is something everybody wants, but they don't often get it because they're afraid. I'll give you an example. The first time I went down a water slide, I remember this park down the shore. It was called Rainbow Rapids. They're not around anymore because they had concrete slides, and a few people, unfortunately, were horsing around and they cut their head open and they sued the place and they closed it. Now it's a miniature golf place. But when I was there the first time, I started with the first slide and it was a little bit daunting at me. I was like, well, what do I need to do to go down this? So the first thing I had to check out is, well, I want to make sure there were no other obstacles than beside just the slide. So I asked questions like, is it an open slide? Oh, no, it's got a tunnel. Oh, what's in a tunnel? Oh, there's water. Well, I don't know if I want to go through a tunnel with water on my first try. So I was like, I want to keep it to just open slides. And so I did. And I remember the first time I went down, I put the mat down. The water was a little bit cold. Sat down on the mat, grabbed the mat up, lean back. They would tell me when it's clear to go. Push myself back, just lean, hold onto that mat, and just enjoy that ride down the slide. I mean, it was really cool. It was all fiberglass. It was amazing. And so then when you get to the very bottom, you'd come to the bottom. And the first time I gave the bottom, like I knew it was gonna be like, it was like, and then the mat just kind of plowed up in the water, like okay in my face. So I kind of I pulled the mat up because the first time I came down, I just left the mat down and the water just kind of hit me like quite a bit. So I left the mat I think the first time I came down, no, the first time I didn't really balance it properly, and I found myself going under the water because I wasn't prepared with how fast that inertia was going to take me. And then I went on larger slides and stuff like that. I remember going on my first slide. I think it was at Splashdown or Waterworks down in South Jersey, and it was a ride where you're supposed to cross your arms, cross your legs, and you start at the top, and then they give you a little push, and you go down, and you just have to kind of relax and you enjoy that feeling and you let go. People that try to control the slide, A, wind up getting hurt, B, wind up definitely not enjoying the experience. So I think with these things I'm trying to show you is that I started small, right? I realized that I had to do something that was a little bit outside my comfort zone. Taking a mat and going on a water slide was definitely outside my comfort zone. I love the water. I loved going to pools, being a Pisces. I love swimming, but I had never gone down anything more than just a little slide at a swimming pool. So this was amazing. And there were two things you had to realize. You had to realize the slides, which ones you were going to go on. Then you had to also pay attention to the time. So I think that was important because, see, at Rainbow Rapids, your mat was only good for each color was good for so much time. So they would do the times in 30-minute increments. So usually a mat was good for either 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or 90 minutes, depending on what you paid for. And so if you had a 90-minute mat, then you would be probably 3 color sequences in. And so what would happen is when you come down, the people at the bottom would be the ones saying something. So if you hit your mat and you quick ran to the top, the people at the top didn't know what color was, their head from their foot. But the people at the bottom of the lake were like, hey, it's yellow, you got to get out. Okay. I just want to get one more. All right, just one more. And sometimes they'd be good to you, especially if they saw you a lot. So I think it's important to embrace life and to start with something you're uncomfortable with, but don't make it something that's going to, give you pain. Just push yourself with a little bit of discomfort. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will eventually become comfortable for you. Then you can push yourself a little more. Always push yourself to be a little bit more uncomfortable. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am by now, but if you don't, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always such a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you guys here on Inspirations for Your Life. Do check out BelieveMeAchieve.com. I'll catch you guys real soon. Have an amazing day and a great weekend.